Hello, and hope everyone's doing well. And we're going to run through another alpha release. This will be alpha release 0.9.0 for V3 Expert Electronics SDR software. And let's get into it. Also did a recent upgrade to the PC as well, so I am running Windows 11 alongside this. So Windows 11 and the V3, everything seems to be working really well. Also with MSHV, the digital software I've been using. So, all right, let's get over to the PC and get this guy going. Got to turn the radio on. Turn the radio on too. Hopefully should show up here. Okay, there we go. All right, so still the same launcher application where you're going to have your radio chooser. You'll be able to, if you have multiple radios, you'll be able to figure out or pick, not figure out, you'll be able to pick which one you want to use. Same with your profile setting. Also the remote setting. You can set up the remote. So if you load V3 on another PC, leave it on this one, use the starter app, load the software on the other one, go into the remote. You're going to choose log in and put your password and stuff in there, and you'll be able to remotely connect. The sync, so you'll be able to sync your settings between each one of the remote and your local. And just the version. Again, this is an alpha release, not a full-fledged, totally working version. Couple little things in it that will get updated here, hopefully in the next release. And so far, though, this release 0.9.0 seems to be working pretty darn well. All right, let's get back over to the first screen on your chooser, and let's start this guy up. All right, I am on 6 meters. Let's get over to, we'll go to 40 here in a minute. Let me, before I get into 40 meters, let me turn this down a little bit. All right, let me get on 40. And I'm going to turn these guys off, except for my notch filters, because of lovely MOH across the road from me here, the AM station. So I pretty much leave the notch filter engaged all the time on 40 meters. And you can see it's making some pretty deep cuts in that whole mess across the road here. For those of you that don't know, I do have an AM broadcast station. It's about 800 feet or so across the road from me, and their fifth harmonic comes right out at 7250. The fundamental is 1450. So that's why I run the notch filters in this area. All right, that said and out of the way, let's turn this down a little bit more. Kind of go through the quick walkthrough of the tabs, the boxes, and options. So starting from the top again, you got your power button on and off in the software. Okay. Launch the second receiver. You can launch your subbands within each one of those. So, you could pull the subbands up over here, which will let you transmit on receive 30. I'm transmitting on 30 meters. Yeah. Okay. So, it's also how you do your split modes. Okay. We turn the second receiver back off. band manager. A couple options in the band manager that are new in this release. You're broken down per your band still. Let me expand this a little bit. Still broken down per your bands, and you can scroll here on the side. If you come over to the right edge and use your mouse wheel, you can scroll up and down. So if you're using, this is where you back up. Your relay settings for antenna outputs are done in here. Receive and transmit, or if you're using the DACs. Again, your 2 meters is still set to antenna port 1. If you're using any receiver control devices or transmit control devices and you need the options for certain pinouts, those are also done in the band manager. I don't have the PA box checked for 160 because I don't have an antenna for 160, so no use in even having that on. And here is where you would put your delays for making sure that you don't hot switch anything, amplifiers, and the same back into receive. Say you're running a preamp, possibly on 6 or 2 meters, you could put a delay in there as well. If you need to adjust, say you are running a preamp and you need to adjust the RF gain, you would put that in here. And then your power outputs are all set in here as well. If you're using an amplifier and you always use the amplifier, you could set this to a maximum drive level and then wouldn't have to worry about, overdriving the amplifier. Sometimes I run it, sometimes I don't. So I just kind of keep an eye on things and try to make sure that I'm not hitting the amplifier too hard or hitting it with excessive power and it bark at me and go into an attenuate mode and scream all over the front of the display about reduced drive power. So that's done there. Now, that said, there is another option for the PA, and I'm going to show that to you real quick. I'm kind of going to jump screens on you, so excuse me for this. But those of you that are used to the version 2, let me turn this down some more still too. Those of you that are used to version 2, you do have an option for the PA button. It'll show up here between, I think it's either band manager and transverter, or it's receiver and band manager. We'll find out here in a second. So if you click the gear icon and you go into your settings, I'm going to skip this screen. The third option down, which is the device settings, there's an option for PA mode where you have save by band and use in tune mode. So if you turn the save by band off, you'll see that this little PA button popped up here, okay? Doing that removes the PA option in your band manager, okay? So this would be pretty much like using version 2, where if you want to use the amplifier, you would have to click the PA button up here to engage the amplifier pins 13 and 15 on the DB25 or DB15 connector on the back of the radio. So that kind of puts you back like version 2. Personally, I like having it just on all the time. When you turn this save by band on, the PA button will go away up at the top, and then you'll notice that you get the PA save function in your band manager. So I don't use the amp on 60 and I don't use it on 160, and the amplifier that I use for 2 meters is RF sensing, so I don't even need to worry about that in this as well. It's not going to key that out the external connector for the key line. Also, you have your receive options and your antenna ports for, the rest of your bands and your general coverage, for your transverters. Whoops, let me scroll down some more. Okay, so general coverage 1 and 2 and your transfers. We'll go into transfers here in a little bit. All right, so let me close that back down. Back across the top, transfers, which is the next tab over. This is where you would set, text button. You can label this 440, whatever you want to. And then your receive low and your receive offsets, your transmit low, your transmit offset if you need that in here, beginning and ending frequencies. And then if it is a full-fledged transverter that does transmit and receive, you would turn off the receive only so that you can use it for transmit as well. Okay? But you can list, currently I think there's 5 in here. Yep, 5. And those will show up in your, whatever you label those as. Like the first one, if I would have labeled that 440, it would show up underneath the transfer tab down here, and it would show band 440, okay? Your attenuator, or your preamps, sorry, not attenuator, your preamps, just kind of a click through, left click will let you do the preamps, so 0 plus 10, which is pretty much where I run it all the time, gives you the lowest noise floor, and then you have minus 20 and minus 10. Again, true SDR, direct sampling, does not change your RF signal reading with the preamps, which is the way it's supposed to be. Get back on my plus 10 here. Volume control, pretty self-explanatory. And if you click the little guy at the end here, it will mute it. So let me turn this up a little bit. And actually, let me get on station here too. So, I know I'm not tuned on this guy all the way. Actually, here, let's find something else. There's some sloppy signals out there in there. This guy's trashy. Look at it, all the upper IMD on that. Okay, so if you hit mute, pretty self-explanatory. It's going to mute it. Okay, let me turn this back down. Your monitor function. Again, if you're in transmit mode and you want to listen to your audio, you have that option as well. Okay. This is your station memory option. Really nice for 2 meters. You go to 2 meters, you can set your repeater offsets and things in here. I don't want to do this. I don't have my 2 meter antenna connected right now. But you can put your offsets in here and it'll call up your CTS or CTCSS tones and your repeater offset. And you can save your squelch setting as well for that. One thing I will note in this release that is a bug. If you save these and you first time you click on one of them, it seems to work. If I go to, let's say, this repeater, and then I try to go to this repeater, and I go back here, for some reason, this doesn't seem to capture the encoding and everything. It doesn't seem to work right. The workaround is if I go back to another band, say I go to 6 meters, and back over to 2 meters, and then back to that, it seems to resolve that. So I'm not sure. I'm sure that'll get fixed here, hopefully, in the next release. Just kind of wanted to point that out real quick. So that is where your station memory is. And you can pull that up via here. Okay. This just expands the display. Kind of like it more in this compact mode. We'll go through the settings icon real quick too, which is a little gear. Let's start at the top. Microphone input settings. You still have your what used to be called in V2, which was the, preprocessor, which is now boost. Your DC block, your rotators, your noise gate, pre-processing, individual filters. You can set these for low pass, high pass, band pass, notch, peaks, low shelf, high shelf, and then your frequencies and your quality and your gains on those, positive or negative gains. And then you'll get a little graph layout here as well. Compressor, fully adjustable. Clipper, adjustable. And then they've added this new feature for noise cancellation. This noise cancellation thing is for the TX, obviously. Its main goal is to remove background noises and kind of keep the audio, your voice audio, in the spectrum of transmit. So if you got like a noisy condition, maybe an air conditioner or a fan running in the background, you can engage this and it should auto set that level for you. Okay. I don't use, obviously, the compressor or the clipper, the EQ, or any of the filters. I'm only using DC block, the rotator, and I have been playing around with this noise cancellation thing. So, again, still profiles are not saving as per being able to name them. I do use mic 2, which is the RJ45 input, which is, that changed. It's my default mic. So you could, I guess, save 3 different settings here if you wanted to. Again, I'm not sure what these guys are going to do unless it's something in the future, because right now it doesn't do anything. Next tab down is another new option. Those that are maybe hearing impaired or have problems with certain audio frequencies, you do now have this EQ option in here, and you can also use it on monitoring as well. And you have, I think, 5 different profiles you can set, and then this will reset that profile back to flat. Loudness gives you an option, again, for hearing problems. You can change this. I've got the loudness on for 30 to 60, which, it's kind of in the age range that I am. But that is another option in here that's new as well. Your transmit filter bandwidths and your filter taps, again, I would recommend, I can't remember what the default is, but I would recommend that you raise the filter taps again. If you got a capable PC that's not having a problem chugging along with the software and anything else that you may be running. By the way, V3 seems to be pretty low on system resources. I do have OBS Studio running, and obviously the software running, and a couple other things running in the background, some antivirus stuff, my timekeeper, what else is running in here? The SDC client was running as well in the background. So again, pretty low system resources. I would recommend, if you can get away with it, to raise these to 3800 on all of them. And then, like I said, you can't save profiles yet. So what I've been doing between my, 3.5, 4K, 8K profiles is I just come in here and change my offsets for my low and my high on my for SSB. The digital lower, pretty much only used on RIDI. You can pretty much leave this settings here at default. And again, I would raise the taps though. Digital upper, you're going to want to remove the offset for this, which I think is 1500 if I remember right by default, but change it to 0 if you're using digital software that uses digital upper mode, and everything should be good there. And you might want to change your low and high frequencies off as well in that. If you have the external ATU for the Sun 2DX, you would want to enable this. That'll keep all your memory recalls for your frequencies. It'll automatically go back to that logarithm for the ATU. Your AM modulator, this is your from center to upper or lower. Narrow FM. The tone generator, you can pick 1 or 2 tones. Again, if you turn this on and you go into transmit, it's going to throw this tone in there. So it's nice to have this for test and to use it to possibly tune an amp with. But you're probably going to want to leave this turned off. Because like I said, if you go into transmit mode, if you click on transmit or you key it with the foot switch, this tone is generated then. So you want to turn that back off. This allows you to select external programs to launch when you launch the SDR client. I've got it set up for a couple, the SDC client, and I did have it turned on for tuner reminder. which I don't have running, but there's the tuner reminder. So nice little program. Keeps track of your, let's get back on 40 here. Don't have anything in there. So keeps track of your, amplifier tune and your manual tuner. So if you run a manual amp or a manual tuner, you have the option to, put those devices in there. When I come up to here, you'll see that the listings from my ACOM is in here. Another piece of third-party application, really nice. You don't have to make a cheat sheet, just pops up on the screen. So that's where you can add and have programs automatically start for you. Waterfall scalable. Again, changing bandwidths and display options just makes us a little bit smoother, cleaner looking. And then this is a new option in the release as well. This allows you to turn on spotting. You would enable the broadcast data. So if you have a logger that has spotting in it, or the SDC client, which I don't think I've got SDC client running, but I don't think I have the spotting. I'll move this over here. Yeah, so let me start my spotters. There's the SDC client, really nice piece of third-party software as well. You can list multiple spotting groups in here, servers. You've got your CW skimmer, which is fantastic in this piece of software, and your RIDI and BSK modes, skimmers as well. And then digitals, your macros, if you want to run, like a CW macro or whatever, you can set that up in here as well. I'm not going to get into this, but kind of some neat stuff in here. SWR graphing, and then this is all controlled via TCI. So there's your options on what you want to start automatically when you launch the SDC client. Optimize that guy. And I did turn on spotting, so let's see here. If we scroll, might not be anything spotted yet. Sometimes there is down the... Let's try to go to 20. Yep, there you go. So there's your spots. Click out of the way. So spotting does work in this release. Okay. Let's see, that takes care of that section for the little settings. Oh, speaking of spotting, while I'm here, this little guy here that looks like a little kind of eraser, pencil and a little eraser head on the end of it. If you click on this, it will remove your spots from your screen. So if I click this, there you go, they're gone. And then once they come back in a time sync, or if a new spot gets posted or somebody reposts that spot, they will show back up on the screen. Okay. All right, next row, pretty common here. Again, if you want to manually click TX, go there. And same with tune. Switch to tune mode. Your audio outputs. So let's just say you're running, 2 receivers, and you want to put 40 meters on the right side and 20 meters on the left side. This is where you would change that on the balance section of that. Another mute feature. CW, if you right click on the break-in, you'll get the CW options box for all of your CW options. Really nice. Okay, metering. Again, we're still with the bar graph meter. Really still hoping that they put the, like in V2, that lovely analog looking meter, big pop-up meter that's available. Hopefully that gets applied in here as well. So you can switch between the power meter and the mic meter. Right click right click on the meter area and you'll get that option that pops up. Okay, the eraser we already went through that. So these guys have been, this one's been reposted. These guys are newer. So if you click this, it'll erase the spots. If I want to save this frequency, I can click the little plus sign here and it'll save this, and it'll give me the option to make a comment, name it. It's going to save the frequency and the mode that was on. I'm not going to do that right now. Let me close this. Lock, again, if you lock this and you scroll with your mouse wheel, which I'm attempting to do now, it's not going to let me shift my frequency. Again, you can manually input your frequencies, click on these guys, one click up or down, whatever. Left click goes up, right click goes down. Okay, or you can just, highlight it and type a number in there. Let's get back on 40 again. I'm not on a 20 meter antenna. I don't want to do anything stupid. So, red TX, I'm transmitting on this frequency, receiving this frequency, as opposed to if I go into split mode and, I would transmit over here on this one. So put this back down on 40. Let's get into something that would, be a little more common here. So I would receive here, transmit here then, if I do that. Getting to switch out of that, just click back over on TX here. Your band options, we already went through. If you label a transverter, you'll get that in here as well. Instead of it saying band 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5, whatever text you would type in the band manager for the transverter section will show up here. Your mode, your mode switching. And then another new option. This is the new band stack. So these are the frequencies we've kind of been through since I've been playing around with this. It recalls these and remembers these. So if I click on any one of these, which the newest one's at the top, when I started, I was at 182. So if I click this, it's going to take me back to that. And then I can scroll forward or backwards through this list as well. So we're at the bottom now. So here we go back, and it's going to change my bands and everything else just by clicking these. So that's a really nice feature as well. Let's just say you were working, in a contest, or let's possibly a rare DX contact, and there's a huge pileup going, and you want to wait till it thins out a little bit. You can go to that frequency and then listen there for a minute, and it'll save it in here, and then you can go up and work somebody else or to another band, and then you want to go back to that, you can just click on it, and it'll go back to that band in that mode. I already went through the sub receiver. So this is where you turn your receiver incremental tuning and your transmitter incremental tubing on. You can change your steps in here. Left click and bring up the step menu. Skip the column. I'm going to go back up to it. And it reminded me when I brought up the AGC. Okay, so you have AGC fast, AGC normal with left click, and if you right click, you can turn off the AGC. Now, another new feature, I want to put this back on fast here for a second. Another new feature in this is this automatic gain control, which is your AGC up here, okay? If you right-click on the word AGC or the lettering AGC, you get this automatic gain control setting in here now. This thing is phenomenal. This works so well, and it's very, very fast. Basically, what you do is, what I've found seems to work for me, how I set this up, is I will turn this off on auto and put it back on manual. And then I will find a gain structure up here that works well for me on receive, noise-wise and signal-wise. And then the band changes. So you slide this up and down, right? Well, if you right-click on this thing and you engage the auto gain, and in here you're gonna have to play with the numbers in here. I think the default is 12, which I found is really too low. I think that puts you up in the gain structure of like 80 or 90 or something like that in the AGC. But if you find, like I said, go into manual modes, adjust this, and you'll get a number up here, that you liked. And then go into auto gain, and then put in here, you'll have to play with the numbers in here. You can get this to where it's locked on, that 52 or 53 that you had up here. Now, if you watch this, let me hover over it for a minute, you'll see that it's changing. So it's compensating on, noises that are coming in, and it's trying to keep that gain structure all the time around where I had it set. Very, very nice feature. Keeps the radio really quiet, and I really love this feature. It's very nice. I don't want to spend any more time on that. Find a setting you like and try it. Your drive control percentage, again, these are not linear. Tune and drive, they're not linear. So 100% doesn't mean 100 watts, 50% doesn't mean 50 watts. But that's where you adjust your power output for your tune and your drive level. Your mic gain, what I have noticed with V3, and this has been typical of all the releases of V3, in V2, my mic gain would be set, let's say 11 or 12, I think is pretty common for V2 for me, for my setting, okay? In V3, I've had to almost double this. So keep that in mind. You're going to probably need to crank up your gain structure on your input in V3 versus what it was in V2. But also, if you right-click here, you can choose which microphone input you're using. While we're on that topic, if you're using, a friend of mine found this out, Doug, so kudos, Doug. If you're using, say, like an external device, a USB device, or possibly an ASIO driver, and you want to use that as your mic input, if you come down and get off that, if you come down and turn off the little headphone icon down here at the bottom, disable this guy, okay? Now, if you right-click on it, let me move my tuner meter out of the way. If you right-click on it, you'll get this option list for microphone inputs, okay? So I'm using mic 2 on the radio, so I'm not using anything here. But if you click the drop-down list, you can select these. So if you're using an ASIO driver, you would just look for it in this list and go. If you're using some USB device, let's see, I think this one is my camera device. Yeah, this one goes to my Logitech camera. So, if I wanted to use that as my microphone, I could select it. That's really nice. And then you would put this on PC, and whatever input you've selected in here is going to be, that's what it's going to use. Same thing goes for your output device, okay? Same deal. Let me re-enable this guy so I have audio. Let me make sure I haven't screwed myself up here. Okay, all right, good deal. So that's where that's done. Again, while we're down here, this is where you would change your TCI port. By default in V3, it's 50001. I've reset this to 4001. And in order to change this, you must disable the device first. So click on it so it goes gray, and then right-click, and you can put whatever number you want in here, and then left-click to turn it back on, okay? So again, these settings can only be changed when they're disabled, and then you have to re-enable them. Let's see, where else did I leave off up there? Okay, I think that's it on that. Let's see, I had a couple notes here. Let me pull some stuff up. Oh, this release does give functionality to the MB1 series for the touchscreen. Not all of the functions work on the button panel just yet. They hopefully will in the next release or two. But most of the functionality is there. If you wanted to play around with it on the MB1 series, you can. And let's see, there was a couple other things. Oh, there's a PA protection mode too that if for the radio itself, not for your external PA. If the SWR is 3.5 or more during a transmit mode, it will reduce the power to 10 watts. And then once you get the SWR problem resolved, it'll go back to whatever you wanted it to. It is for those guys running the tuner, the external tuner, that when you go to the tune button with the external tuner, that option is disabled, so that if you, let's say we're using, 15 watts or 20 watts on a tune, which you probably would want to start lower than that anyways and work your way up. But it's not going to kick it back to 10 watts in that. Of course, that tune cycle doesn't last that long anyway, so it's pretty quick and you shouldn't have a problem. Let's see, anything else that I've missed in this so far? The new E-coders added in here as well. E-sync options are in here. So the expert sync, which will, again, like I was pointing out in the beginning, when you do the radio chooser, if you do remote and you do sync, you can turn sync on in here and sync things back and forth. I think that's it that I noticed in my... Oh, wait, no, it's not. I'm sorry. I skipped another row again. Skipped some functions, didn't I? Sorry, guys. I'm not paying attention. So your noise blanker, again, right-click, and you can adjust your thresholds and your pulse widths in here, and then enable it. Binaural audio, pretty self-explanatory, kind of gives you a simulated stereo effect. Your noise reduction, this has been updated too. This seems to work a little bit better now. This is another new feature, this automatic noise cancellation, and I'm going to unmute the microphone. Well, I'm going to mute my microphone and bring up the audio on the receiver so we can play around with this, but let me go through the rest of these here first. Your audio peak filter enabled. This again works in voice and CW. It's nice. So let's just say you've got the volume turned up and you're listening to a weak station, and then you tune up the band and there's somebody that's really strong. It doesn't blast your ears out. I mean, you'll still get the loudness from the new station that you've moved up to or down to or wherever, but it's not overbearing. So it kind of works on kind of a leveling effect to keep the volume somewhat equalized. Your notch filters, again, like I said, on 40 meters, I use these all the time, and this is where you would add another notch filter. Okay. So, okay, back to the automatic noise cancellation. So let me turn the volume up. Let's unmute this. Let's turn the volume up. And
20 meters, Selvin. No, I won't tell him that. If I can mode to 83, if I start ending because you drive off everybody off it.
So if you turn on this automatic noise canceller,
no, the first person I
it takes all that background hiss and stuff out of there.
283
it's like
was
listening to FM.
Gordon there, the old man Gordon there, go ahead. You drive me off, you drive off into drive Gordon.
And then you've got three choices in here, A, B, and C, which will play with the different algorithms. So depending on the weakness of the signal or the strength of the signal, you can kind of play with these settings. I'm sure this will get updated a little bit more.
Patrick say something.
But it's very quiet on receive. Very impressive.
So you're back, turn the amplifier on.
I got the volume turned all the way up now, so, well, let's go here. I'm going to turn it off for a second, so hold on.
Yeah, he's on frequency too, but you have to turn that amplificator on.
So you'll hear the hiss in there, right? You turn it on, it's gone.
Something is wrong with the and just like that. He knows that you have a strong signal, but he don't want to acknowledge it. Auto AGC.
So that's really nice.
Right, PJ.
All right. I think that is about everything I wanted to cover in this release, if I remember correctly. Oh, wait, nope, I forgot even more. Okay, so again, your adjustability of your sample rates, left click down here at the bottom, you'll get your sample rate. Let me turn this back down so we're not. You get your sample rates in there. Right click on the little looks like chain link fence here, if you want to call it, or chain, I'm sorry. This is where you would turn your bandpass filters on and off. And yes, regardless of what Michael Walker says, the Sun SDR2DX does have bandpass filters. Obviously, they're right here. Michael, open your eyes. So you can turn these on auto or the high pass filters, low pass filters. I do leave it on the bandpass filter setting. Again, if we're using 2 meters, you can turn on the internal low noise amplifier, which I would highly recommend. And if you're using an external reference oscillator for frequency control, you would enable that in here as well. This just gives you your information on your serial number and firmware versions, the PA, kind of similar to what you would click on when you went to device info in version 2. You now also have the option to show Celsius or Fahrenheit on transceiver, and yes, I am up on the 3rd floor, and it is a little warm up here, so that is showing that. Plus, where I've got the radio sitting right now, I've moved some stuff around, and I'm going to have to move stuff around again because the airflow is not really all that great right there. But if you right-click on this, you can switch between Celsius and Fahrenheit, okay? Your voltage and receive, and when you go to transmit, let's get off these guys. I don't want to do that. If I go into tune mode, you'll see this drop down a little bit. So there you go. And then it shows your amp draw. So in tune mode, I'm right now drawing a little over 10 amps. And then receive 7/10 of an amp. So that's where those are. And application scaling. This will allow you to change your view that best fits your monitor. For me, I found that this 110% works really well for the 28-inch monitors that I'm currently using. Local time, if you left click, you get UTC and local. And obviously the date's not gonna change here. Okay. So I think that's it. I don't think I forgot anything this time. Hopefully I don't want to do another. Oops, I forgot. Hope you guys enjoyed this. And as always, keep in mind, it is an alpha. There are a few things that, little glitches in it. Like I said, like the 2 meter, frequency recall for repeaters, is a little glitchy. And one other thing I noticed on 2 meters too, and I need to do some more testing with this release. There was an earlier version of 0.9.0 as well, but I think they may have fixed this in it, and then going forward, they're going to keep all the releases with the same numbers. They'll have another little nomenclature after them, so you'll know if it's like A or B or C, D, whatever. But I think there was an issue on 2 meters with receive sensitivity, and I don't know, I'm not so much sure it was really receive sensitivity, but the S meter readings were really kind of whacked out. They were really low. I think they fixed that. Again, I don't have the 2 meter antenna connected, but I'll play around with that a little bit later on when I get a chance to. I think that is fixed, or at least closer to what it should be than it was. If it's not fixed yet, I'm sure it will be fixed here in the next release or two. So, again, hope everybody's having a good day. Hope this explains where a couple things are, and download the V3 and give it a whirl. Really nice software. Looks really nice. The graphical layout on it is really nice looking. So there'll be more options coming with it, and abilities to adjust a few more features, and some other features will be added as it progresses. So take care. All the best. 7-3 from N8SDR.